The name Don Knotts instantly brings back memories of nervous stammers, wide-eyed glances, and that unforgettable laugh that echoed across generations. He was Barney Fife, the bumbling deputy who turned clumsiness into comedy on The Andy Griffith Show. With 5 Emmy Awards, he secured his place as one of television's most beloved stars. But behind the laughter was a fragile soul marked by fear, illness, and loneliness. Today, his daughter, Karen Knotts, now in her 70s, reveals the private struggles her father carried, truths hidden behind decades of smiles. What she shares is not meant to tarnish his legacy, but to complete it. Because behind the lovable deputy was a man shaped by childhood trauma, lifelong anxiety, and illnesses that no amount of fame could erase. Jesse Donald Knotts was born on July 21, 1924, in Morgantown, West Virginia, the youngest of 4 brothers. His arrival came when his family was already struggling. His father, William Jesse, battled personal demons that created a turbulent home, while his mother Elsie was already 40 when she gave birth to him. Don grew up in an environment of instability, often left feeling small and powerless. He admired his brother Sid, who had a sharp sense of humor and could brighten the darkest days. But when Sid died suddenly from an asthma attack, young Don experienced his first deep loss. To cope, he turned to his imagination. He built a ventriloquist dummy named Danny, who became both his companion and his stage partner. Through Danny, Don discovered the healing power of humor. At school, he performed small sketches that delighted his classmates, even being elected class president. Yet despite the outward charm, Don always felt like an outsider. His daughter Karen would later explain that the jittery, nervous character fans saw on television was not an act. It was a reflection of the anxiety that followed him since childhood. Comedy became his shield, a way to transform fear into laughter. When Don first tried to break into show business in New York, he failed and returned home disappointed. But with World War II raging, he enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1943. His service wasn't on the battlefield, but on stage, performing in the Special Services Battalion to entertain soldiers. Touring the Pacific in a variety show called Stars and Gripes, he discovered how his nervous energy could disarm and delight weary troops. By the time he left the Army in 1946, decorated with medals, Don had also found a sense of purpose. He was no longer just the boy afraid of his father's temper. He was a performer who could command an audience. After the war, Don attended West Virginia University, earning a degree in education with a minor in speech. He married his college sweetheart, Catherine Metz, and in 1949 moved back to New York with little money but plenty of determination. Though casting directors often dismissed him as too awkward for leading roles, Don refused to give up. He found small parts in radio westerns and landed a role on the soap opera Search for Tomorrow. By the mid-1950s, his career took a turn when Steve Allen cast him in comedy sketches. Don's nervous mannerisms were no longer a handicap. They were his signature. Around the same time, he reconnected with Andy Griffith on Broadway in No Time for Sergeants. Their chemistry was undeniable, and when Andy launched The Andy Griffith Show in 1960, Don suggested the role of a deputy to balance Andy's calm sheriff. Thus, Barney Fife was born, and television history was made. For 5 years, Don lit up living rooms across America. His twitchy expressions, stammering voice, and endless energy turned Barney into one of television's most iconic characters. His brilliance was rewarded with 5 Emmy Awards. But while audiences adored him, his home life was unraveling. His marriage to Catherine crumbled under the strain of long hours, constant anxiety, and Don's dependence on medication. to his daughter. Karen, the contrast was heartbreaking. America saw a man who made the world laugh, while she saw a father often exhausted, withdrawn, and battling inner demons. In 1965, believing the Andy Griffith Show was ending, Don left to pursue a movie career. Films like The Incredible Mr. Limpet and The Reluctant Astronaut showcased his unique charm, but audiences struggled to accept him outside of Mayberry. His attempt at a romantic lead in The Love God flopped, and Don's confidence suffered. Meanwhile, his anxiety worsened. Though he continued working steadily in movies and later television, including a beloved stint on Three's Company, the years of success were shadowed by isolation and self-doubt. By the 1980s, Don's second marriage had ended, and his health began to fail. He was diagnosed with macular degeneration, a disease that threatened his eyesight, devastating him both personally and professionally. Later, years of heavy smoking caught up with him, leading to lung cancer. Yet amid these struggles, he found lasting love with actress Frances Yarborough, whom he married in 2002. She offered him the stability he had long searched for, standing by him during his final years. In 2006, as his illness progressed, Don faced his last days surrounded by family and friends. Andy Griffith visited his longtime friend and whispered encouragement, calling him Jess, the name only those closest to him used. His daughter Karen recalled that even as he lay dying, he found a way to make them laugh so hard that she had to leave the room. That was Don's final gift, turning pain into laughter until the very end. On February 24, 2006, Don Knotts passed away at the age of 81. Karen later wrote her memoir, Tied Up in Knots, not to expose her father's flaws, but to honor the full man behind the legend. She revealed the childhood trauma, the lifelong anxiety, and the loneliness that fame never healed. Her words remind us that those who make us laugh the hardest are often carrying the heaviest burdens. Don Knotts lived a life of contradictions, beloved by millions yet often battling darkness inside. But his legacy endures in the laughter he brought, the unforgettable characters he created, and the courage it took to keep performing through the pain.